is July 14th. This is the 13th day. Yesterday was the 12th day and it was a 0, so no trail time yesterday. Getting back on the trail here at Route 4. In 1 mile, I'll split apart from the Appalachian Trail and be on the long trail headed for Canada. Feeling pretty good, got good rest. There are a few little aches and pains I've got right now that are kind of not sure to be whether I should be concerned about them or not, but we'll see here. 2 options today because there's rain coming in and I want to try to be in a shelter rather than just a campsite. 2 options are 5 miles and 13 miles. So when I get to 5 miles, we'll take a look. Getting a late start today. It's about 10:45, so a little later than I would have liked, but I had a couple things I needed to do this morning. So we'll check in when we get to the main junction, which is the split of the long trail and the AT. All right, looks like we're just getting to main junction here. AT long trail south. This is not a trail. Let's see what it says here. All right, main junction, Willard Gap, elevation 2250 to the right, AT north to Maine, to the left, LT north to Canada. You are entering bear country. Thought we'd been there. All right, so we're going to be heading off that way. Should get a lot less crowded at this point since we won't see any more AT hikers. I guess the last 2 I saw will be the ones that I came out with. I think one was named Animal and then Sheepdog rode the bus over here with them. So we're going to head off this direction. We'll check in a little bit, see what the weather looks like as we move on up the trail. All right, well, I'm a few miles in for the day. And it started to sprinkle here a couple times and stop. Not sure what the rain's going to do today. It's supposed to, guy on the bus was telling me that works up at the ski lodge. He was telling me around 5 o'clock it's supposed to come in pretty good. So I'm about a mile from a shelter right now, but it's really early, 12:30, something like that. I'm going to go to that shelter, grab something to eat, chill for a little bit, see if it rains. If it does, I'll sit it out there and try to make a few miles in between the rain this afternoon, but we'll just kind of play it by ear. But we're back on the trail headed north, so that's a good thing. All right, check in soon. All right, well, I just stopped for a few minutes at Ralston Rest Shelter. That was about 5.1 up from US 4. Logan Shelter is about 8 miles up from here, but it's about 1 o'clock, so I feel pretty good about getting there. We'll kind of gamble with the rain a little bit, see how it works out. But should still get in there in really good time. That would be great. Great first day back out after that 0 yesterday, getting in about 13. So we're gonna push on, see if we can get there. All right, see you soon. All right, well, so far since we left the AT, there has been a noticeable drop-off in the number of hikers. I've come across a couple girls going southbound and then one gentleman who was going northbound. He was leaving that shelter when I got there, the Ralston shelter. So I expect I'll see him at the next shelter up for the night. But yeah, we're nowhere near the number of hikers that we've been seeing so far, but the trail is beautiful. I'll show you what we got here. We're getting within about 1.5 miles of the shelter that I'm staying at tonight. Trail's been kind of like this. No huge ups, no huge downs really, but I'll tell you, definitely not the AT. There are a few places, it's pretty obvious most of the time, but there are a few places where I questioned whether I was still on the trail or not. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're coming this way. Got to kind of be aware. Some areas have a lot of white blazes, some areas a little less. So something to think about. I'll try to give you a look when I get to the shelter. See ya. Good morning. Stayed at David Logan shelter last night, right down the hill here. Pretty good night. Slept in the shelter. There were about 10 of us in a large group of kids at the shelter. Definitely a different day yesterday, as I was mentioning. Being away from the AT, it's a little more remote, a little more rugged, in a good way, I think. Seems like most at the shelter are kind of on the same, thinking along the same lines as me, so that might be kind of cool. Might ride this thing out in and out of that group, so we'll just kind of see how that goes. All right, well, we got a little bit of climbing today. Going to go 13 again today. Right after lunch, it looks like there might be a 1,000-foot climb out of Brandon Gap, so that'll be a nice midday test. So we're going to get moving. I'll pop in here and there, show you the trail. Talk to you soon. Alright, so this is what the trails looked like for a while now, for a few miles. Relatively moderate. It was first couple miles out of camp today. We're pretty steady, gaining elevation. So it's kind of built up some sweat right off the bat, but coming to a bit of a trail junction here. Let's see, Long Trail North, Crittenden Brook Trail. We won't be going there. There is a water source apparently close by, but we've got about 1.5 miles up to get to the first shelter that we'll see today. That's where we'll stop for lunch, so maybe I'll check in there. See ya. One of the goals for this trip was to come across a moose. Haven't done it yet, but we have signs, so we'll hold out hope. All right, so we just left Sunrise Shelters. Hung out there for a little bit, probably about an hour or so. Got some lunch, rested up. About 6 miles to go on the left on the day. It's 2 o'clock now. Get down to Brandon Gap here inside of a mile, I think, and then it looks like it's going to be about a 1,000-foot climb out of the gap. So got a pretty good climb in store for us here this afternoon. But once we get to the gap, I guess we're looking at about 4.5 miles or so to the shelter. So we'll get there, and we'll see if there's anything along the way. I think we've got some cliffs on that climb. Forget the name of the cliffs right now. HORRID cliffs maybe. And I'm not sure what we'll be able to see there. Apparently that's a peregrine falcon habitat, and I think it's closed. Portion of it is closed through August 1st, so I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get any good views off the cliffs or not. We'll just have to wait to see when we get there. All right, we'll check in again a little bit. So not sure how well you can see that, but if you look right across, I mentioned Mount HORRID or HORRID cliffs a little while ago with the peregrine falcons. That's where we're going. Headed up that way here after we get to the road. Pretty good climb ahead of us. Right, so we just left Cape LOOKOFF Mountain. Threw a clip in there for you. Kind of walking this ridge now. with some ups and downs. It was a pretty good climb out of Brandon Gap. Now we're on the ridge with some ups and downs and headed to the shelter. Can't remember the name of the shelter right now, but I'll stick it in there later. Got about 3.5 miles to the shelter. Getting there a little later than I have been finishing up, but that's okay. Still with plenty of time and sunlight left. All right, we're gonna keep plugging along. This is what the trail has been looking like here for a few minutes, and I assume it's gonna stay like this for a little bit. But a really pretty ridge up here. All right, we'll check in a little bit. All right, nothing like a late afternoon climb to finish the day off. Oh goodness. All right, let me put this thing away. Just wanted to show you what we're doing. All right, so I didn't end the day yesterday, so ended up staying here at Sucker Brook shelter right behind me. Good night's sleep. Man, the last 3 miles was rough yesterday coming in here. I really wasn't in a good mood when I got here. Not hard climbing or anything, just kind of long. It seemed to take forever. But feeling pretty good this morning. A little bit of climbing this morning right out of the gates, and then shouldn't be too bad as we move forward. I'm going a little bit shorter today, only about 11.5 miles, I think. A couple shelters up. So yeah, that's going to kind of wrap up this episode. Again, yesterday would have been, I think, day 14, Sunday, day 14, and I guess that was the 15th. I'm not even sure what the date is today, but so we're getting started here on a new day. Good weather. Had some coyotes visiting last night, man. They got really loud in the middle of the night, so not sure where they were, how close they were, but it sounded really close. So anyway, well, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, go over to Instagram, follow at Valise Outdoors. I think you'll enjoy that. Been posting a lot of stuff there throughout the days, so we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.